My name is Emily, and I am 29 years old. I got home from work on Tuesday evening, exhausted from back-to-back meetings, the kind where you smile and nod while your brain quietly begs for silence. And all I wanted was to take my meds, eat something, and crash. My boyfriend, 27, of 2 years, was sitting on the couch with this strange energy, like he'd won something. And the moment he said, "We need to talk," I felt my stomach tighten, because those 4 words are never casual in my house. I dropped my laptop bag by the door and asked what was going on, and he stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen, and came back holding my medication organizer, the one I fill every Sunday like a ritual, because routine is the thin line between stability and a spiral. It was empty. Not one compartment left. Every day wiped clean. He held it up like a trophy and told me he did something amazing for me today, his face glowing with pride like he expected applause. I asked him what he did, and he said he freed me from my pharmaceutical prison. The words hit my ears, but my mind rejected them at first, like they couldn't be real. Then he said it plainly, almost cheerfully, that he flushed them. All of them, the ones in the medicine cabinet, the backup bottle in my desk drawer, even the emergency stash in my car. 3 months of Lexapro and Wellbutrin gone in one bathroom moment. My blood went cold. Not because of the money, even though it was hundreds of dollars and I'd worked for it, but because I knew what came next. I knew withdrawal doesn't care about motivational speeches. Brain zaps, nausea, shaking, insomnia, the kind of emotional freefall that makes you feel like your skin doesn't fit right. I asked him if he understood what he'd done, and he waved it off like I was being dramatic and told me I didn't need pills to be happy. I needed to woman up, exercise, meditate, and stop letting doctors control me. He started quoting his trainer like it was scripture, saying depression is just your body telling you to move more. And when I asked if his trainer, the guy who sells protein shakes, was really his medical source, he crossed his arms and said that man knew more about health than pill-pushing doctors. He told me antidepressants shrink your brain, that he'd read an article on Instagram, a wellness blog written by some naturopath, and he said it like he expected me to thank him for saving me from myself. I took a slow breath and felt my hands trembling, not from anger, but from fear, because I could already feel the clock starting in my body. I looked at him and said, "Your medical opinion is noted," and then I told him to get out. He laughed, actually laughed. He called me dramatic and said it was just pills, that I'd thank him when I realized he was right. Then he tried to claim the apartment was his too, like destroying my medication earned him ownership of my space. I told him his name wasn't on the lease, that paying cash for half the utilities didn't make him a tenant, and that he had 5 minutes to leave before I called the police. His smugness cracked. He snapped that I was already having mood swings, and that proved the pills were making me worse. That was when I pulled out my phone and started recording, my voice steady as I told him I was documenting his admission that he destroyed my prescription medication and that he needed to leave immediately. He stormed to the bedroom, throwing clothes into a bag and shouting that I was ungrateful, addicted, weak, that he was trying to save me, that I was choosing drugs over him. And when the door finally slammed at 7:23 p.m., I noted the time like a witness in my own life. At 7:24 p.m., I called my psychiatrist's emergency line, because whatever he thought he'd freed me from, I knew the truth. This wasn't help. This was control. By the time I hung up with the emergency line, my hands were still shaking, but my thinking was clear in a way it hadn't been all evening. Fear will do that when it's sharp enough. I slept in short bursts that night, waking every hour to the buzz under my skin, the first warning signs that my body already knew something was wrong. By morning, my head felt stuffed with static and my stomach rolled every time I stood up. I took a shower just to remind myself I was still here, still in control of my own body, even if someone had tried to hijack it. My psychiatrist saw me at 8 a.m. on the dot. She took one look at me and didn't even bother hiding her reaction. Horrified doesn't quite cover it. She asked what happened, and when I told her, she stopped typing and just stared at me for a long second, like she needed to reset her understanding of reality. She documented everything, wrote emergency prescriptions, handed me samples to get me through the next few days, and talked me through what withdrawal might feel like so I wouldn't panic when it hit harder. Brain zaps, she said, like tiny lightning bolts in your skull. She wasn't exaggerating. Then she said something that shifted the ground under my feet. She told me this wasn't just reckless or ignorant, it was criminal. She reminded me of my hospitalization 2 years earlier, the one I'd fought so hard to recover from, the one my boyfriend knew about, the one that was the entire reason we'd built routines around medication and stability. She said tampering with medication that prevents major depressive episodes is considered life-threatening, and sudden cessation could have triggered severe depression with suicidal ideation. Her voice was calm, professional, and unyielding when she told me she was mandated to report it. She wrote a detailed letter stating my medication was life-sustaining, that destroying it constituted reckless endangerment, and that my safety had been put at risk. I took that letter straight to the police station. The desk sergeant read it slowly, his eyebrows climbing higher with every paragraph, and when he looked back at me, he asked if my boyfriend had really done this knowingly. When I showed him the video, his expression hardened. They took my statement, logged the evidence, and told me a detective would follow up. That night, at 11:47 p.m., my phone exploded. He'd gone on Facebook. The post was already spreading by the time I saw it, full of buzzwords and righteousness. He framed himself as a strong man who cared about health, said he'd tried to help someone break free from big pharma addiction and got thrown out for it, and accused me of playing the victim and trying to get him arrested. He tagged me. He tagged my workplace. He tagged my sister. My sister called immediately, panic in her voice, asking what the hell happened. I sent her the video. She went quiet, then said the words I'd been avoiding. He could have killed you. She told me to screenshot everything, every comment, every share, every accusation, because this was evidence now. By morning, the post had dozens of comments. His fitness friends cheered him on. My friends tore him apart. My boss texted me to take the day off and deal with it, and politely asked if I could get the company tag removed. His mom called me next. She didn't ask if I was okay. She demanded to know how I could kick her son out when he was just trying to help. When I told her he destroyed my medication, she brushed it off like I was being dramatic. Pills are just pills, she said. He saved you from addiction. I asked her if she'd flush insulin if I were diabetic. She said that was different, that diabetes is real. I hung up before she could finish the thought. Thursday afternoon, the doorbell rang hard. I looked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. He was there with his brother, built like a refrigerator, and a woman in yoga pants covered in spiritual tattoos holding crystals like weapons. They banged on the door and shouted that they were there for an intervention. I didn't open it. I called 911 and told the dispatcher my ex-boyfriend was at my door, with 2 people trying to force entry after destroying my medication, and that I had already filed a police report. I could hear them outside while I stayed on the line. He told them I was paranoid because of drugs. The yoga woman suggested maybe I wasn't home. Someone said I was hiding because I was too drugged to function. The police arrived in 8 minutes. I heard the confusion, the raised voices, the officer asking what medication they were talking about. When he knocked, I opened the door calmly, holding my prescription bottles and the report number. I told him they were trying to stage an intervention for prescribed antidepressants. The officer looked at them, looked at me, then looked back at them like he couldn't believe this was his call for the night. When my ex screamed that I should be arrested because I was on drugs, the officer told him prescribed medication isn't illegal. He warned them to leave or be arrested for harassment. As they left, The yoga woman pressed a crystal into the officer's hand and whispered something about negative aura. He tossed it into the grass and told me to get a restraining order. By Friday morning, I was served. He was suing me for illegal eviction, emotional distress, and theft of groceries he claimed he'd invested in. I stared at the paperwork for a long moment, then laughed once, sharp and humorless. That was fine. If this was how far he wanted to take it, then so be it. Because at that point, it wasn't just about medication anymore. It was about accountability, and I was done being quiet. 2 weeks later, my lawyer laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not a restrained smile, but a full, incredulous laugh that went on long enough to make me blink. He read the lawsuit out loud in his office, savoring each line like bad poetry. Illegal eviction from a property my ex did not lease. Emotional distress because I asked him to leave after he destroyed life-sustaining medication. Theft of groceries he claimed were his investment because some of them were still in my fridge. When he finished, he leaned back and said this was beautiful, the kind of case that teaches people lessons. He suggested a countersuit without hesitation: destruction of property, reckless endangerment, harassment, defamation for the social media posts, intentional infliction of emotional distress. We filed everything the same afternoon. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for Tuesday. I walked into the courthouse, calm in a way I hadn't expected, like the adrenaline had finally burned off and left clarity behind. My ex arrived with his mother and, I swear this is true, a self-proclaimed wellness advocate who was apparently there to represent him. The man wore a man bun and carried sage like it was a credential. He tried to wave it around the hallway, muttering about energy. The judge, a woman with the kind of expression that suggests she has seen every version of nonsense imaginable, shut it down instantly. She asked if he was a licensed attorney. He said he was licensed in healing arts and security. She ordered him escorted out before he could finish the sentence. My ex stood up and accused the court of discrimination against alternative medicine. The judge didn't look impressed. She asked to see the evidence. The video of him admitting to flushing my medication. The letter from my psychiatrist explaining that sudden cessation could have triggered a major depressive episode with suicidal ideation. The screenshots of the Facebook posts. There were more than I realized. He'd posted 12 times in 2 days, each one more aggressive than the last. The recording of the 911 call. The security footage from my hallway showing the intervention attempt. The judge looked at my ex and asked a simple question. Did you destroy her medication? He tried to explain that he liberated me. She asked again, yes or no? He said yes. She asked if he posted about it online. He said, freedom of speech. She asked if he returned to my residence after being told to leave. He said he was trying to save me. The judge granted the restraining order without hesitation. 500 feet. No contact, direct or indirect. 2 years. My ex started sobbing, shouting that everyone was brainwashed and owned by Big Pharma. His mother jumped up and accused me of abuse, said I was abusing her son by taking drugs. The judge warned her to sit down or leave. She threatened to call the news. The bailiff escorted them both out while my ex screamed that when I killed myself from pills, it wouldn't be her fault. The words echoed in the hallway long after the doors closed. The prosecutor was waiting when I stepped outside. She told me criminal charges were moving forward. Then the harassment escalated again. Thursday, my ex called my company's HR department and claimed I was dangerously addicted to psychiatric drugs and mentally unstable. HR called me in immediately. I brought my lawyer. We played the video. We showed the restraining order. We handed them the police report. HR documented the call as harassment and asked if I wanted them to involve law enforcement. They sent me back to work with an apology and cookies from the break room. Saturday morning at 6, a brick crashed through my living room window. A note taped to it read, "Pharma slave." My security camera caught everything. His brother, clear as day, license plate visible, acting on her behalf. I called the police, showed them the footage, and by that afternoon, both of them were arrested for vandalism and violation of the restraining order. His mother called from his phone before it was confiscated and accused me of destroying their family over pills. I said nothing. I forwarded the recording to my lawyer. The criminal trial was set for the next month. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. What happened next unfolded faster than I expected, like a row of dominoes that had been leaning for years and finally tipped. While my ex was out on bail, she decided the court wasn't enough and went to the news. A local wellness blogger picked it up first, spinning the story into a crusade about medical freedom and evil pharmaceutical boyfriends. The article ran with her full name, her photo, and her quotes about antidepressants being genocide pills and doctors being drug dealers with degrees. It was loud, unhinged, and impossible to miss. Her employer, a high-end gym, saw it within hours. They Googled her. They found the arrest record. They found the restraining order. They also found complaints they'd quietly buried, including one from a diabetic client she'd told to stop taking insulin in favor of cinnamon supplements. That client had ended up hospitalized. The gym fired her the same day, not because of the arrest, but because she was giving dangerous medical advice to paying clients. They revoked her access immediately and reported the situation to their insurer. The fallout didn't stop there. The diabetic client sued her for $50,000. The gym sued her for reputational damage. 3 more clients came forward with stories about being pressured to ditch prescribed medication. Her fitness certification was permanently revoked. She could no longer work at any licensed gym in the state. The wellness blogger quietly updated the article, then took it down. Too late. Screenshots live forever. The criminal trial finally arrived 6 weeks later, and it was exactly as surreal as everything else. She showed up in athletic wear like she was heading to a spin class instead of court. Her public defender looked exhausted, like he'd aged a decade since taking her case. She insisted on testifying against his advice, and the prosecutor let her talk. It was magnificent in the worst way. She said the pills were killing me slowly and that she deserved a medal. When asked where she learned this, she said documentaries online. When pressed for sources, she said YouTube was valid. She pivoted into chemtrails, government conspiracies, and how depression was invented by pharmaceutical companies. Her own lawyer objected to his own client. The jury deliberated for 37 minutes. Guilty on all counts: destruction of property, reckless endangerment, harassment. The judge sentenced her to 1 year of probation, a $1,500 fine, 200 hours of community service at a mental health facility, mandatory psychiatric evaluation, and restitution for my medication. The restraining order was extended to 5 years. The irony of her being required to serve a mental health community wasn't lost on anyone in the room. The universe wasn't done. Her brother, arrested for the brick through my window, got 6 months of probation and had to pay for the damage. He still thinks I'm the villain. That's fine. The wellness advocate who tried to sage the courtroom started a GoFundMe for her legal fees and raised $73. His own mother donated 50 of it. My ex's final act was an Instagram post before her lawyer made her stop. She called it a modern-day witch trial and said she was persecuted for caring. The comments were brutal. People asked why she told diabetics to stop insulin. Others said this was why science education matters. The post disappeared within a day. She's now living with her mother and selling essential oils through an MLM, trying to start a podcast called Pill Pushers Exposed, though she can't figure out how to upload episodes. As for me, my medication works. I'm stable. I kept my job and got promoted last month. Turns out being functional is good for your career. I started dating a man a few weeks ago, a pharmacist, and when I nervously mentioned my meds, he laughed and said, "Thank God, someone who believes in science." He thinks the whole story is hilarious, especially the crystals. He keeps threatening to bring me healing rocks as a joke. The restitution check arrived last week, $240. I didn't frame it. I used it to buy more medication because that's what adults do. Take care of their health with actual medicine, not Instagram wisdom and essential oils. Living well on prescribed treatment is the best revenge, especially when the person who tried to control your body is banned from every gym in a 50-mile radius and drowning in lawsuits from people she nearly killed. Play stupid games with people's medical needs. Win stupid prizes with a side of criminal conviction. The circle of consequences closed perfectly, quietly, and without me having to lift another finger.